I'm Genevieve.
And I'm Jasmine, and we'll be discussing the topics of revenge porn and deepfakes in this video.
Today we'll attempt to answer what existing and developing laws govern revenge pornography and how the First Amendment influences its legal treatment when considering the impact of AI advancement. So what exactly is revenge porn? For those who don't know, revenge porn is the distribution of sexually explicit images or videos of individuals made without their consent. The materials may have been made by a partner in an intimate relationship with the knowledge and consent of the subject at the time, or it may have been made without their knowledge.
That's exactly right, Genevieve. This issue has been steadily increasing throughout the years too. The COVID-19 pandemic played a huge role in this, pushing everyone online to do whatever they please. For instance, a revenge porn helpline that was set up in 2015 saw a 98% increase in cases in April 2020 compared with April 2019.
It's unfortunate that so many people are facing this terrible issue. This leads us to the question, what are the repercussions of revenge porn? Are there any laws or rules protecting victims? Are the perpetrators held accountable at all?
In regards to your questions, as these explicit images have been shared at an alarming rate, legislation came soon behind. However, some previous legislation has been applied. For example, under the 1986 Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, some perpetrators and operators of revenge porn websites have been prosecuted for hacking, impersonation, identity theft, and extortion. Depending if the images were taken by the victim, they might even be able to gain protection under copyright laws. At least 40 states have had pending legislation in the 2024 legislative session, and at least 20 bills have been enacted. Although there are many attempts at legislation to mediate this issue, they have all fallen short as they infringe on the First Amendment rights.
In 1972, Marvin Miller conducted a mass mailing advertising campaign in California to sell adult materials. The advertisement featured sexually explicit pictures, but Marvin's entrepreneurial spirit backfired when two unwilling recipients complained to the police. Miller was prosecuted and convicted under California statute that prohibited knowingly distributing obscene matter. The Supreme Court ruling in Miller v. California created a three-part test for obscenity. The test asks the question, does the material appeal to the prurient interest, with prurient referring to excessive interest in sexual content? Second, is the material patently offensive? And third, will a reasonable person say that the content lacks serious artistic, political, literary, or scientific value? If the answer to any of the question is a yes, the content is more likely to be deemed obscene. However, more recent court cases have struck down much of the sentiment from the Miller test, such as Renault v. ACLU. The 1990s saw the rise of the Internet, and Congress tried early on to regulate the new medium, especially to prevent minors from viewing lurid content. One of the earliest United States Supreme Court's decisions to consider Internet regulation was the 1997's Renault v. American Civil Liberties Union. As part of the Telecommunication Act of 1996, Congress enacted the Communication Decency Act, or known as the CDA. The CDA prohibited knowingly transmitting obscene or indecent material to any recipient under the age of 18. Also prohibited displaying patently offensive messages in a way that made messages accessible to minors. The CDA provided affirmative defenses to persons who made good faith, reasonable efforts to restrict minors' access to prohibited communication. The Act also provided a defense to persons who required some proof of age, such as a credit card or adult identification code, before allowing a user access to offensive displays. On the same day that President Clinton signed the Telecommunications Act into law, the American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU, sued United States Attorney General Janet Reno, arguing that the CDA violated the First Amendment. The three-judge district court panel found that the CDA was unconstitutional. The Supreme Court found that the CDA's broad definition of indecent content violated the First Amendment because it could lead to excessive censorship of online speech. The ruling emphasized that obscenity laws, including those informed by the Miller test, must be carefully tailored to avoid unduly restricting free expression, especially in the context of the Internet.
So how does the First Amendment apply to this? And is there a straightforward law banning this completely? While it would be ideal to have a straightforward law banning revenge porn, creating such a law is challenging. It must navigate the complexities of the First Amendment while also addressing issues like consensual and non-consensual activities.
That's where things get tricky. The First Amendment protects free expression, which includes a broad range of activities. Some people might view porn as a form of creative expression or art, complicating how to handle revenge porn. States have exceptions to their pornography laws for sexually explicit material that's a part of news report, commentary, or artistic works. Plus, the law has to deal with whether the material is consensual. The bill needs to be so clearly defined and narrowly focused as to not punish innocent activity, an activity to which the public has legitimate interest.
In a Vermont Supreme Court case, State v. Van Buren, a woman named Dana sent nude photos to her ex-boyfriend, Anthony Kuhn, via Facebook Messenger, which were later accessed and publicly posted by Rebecca Van Buren, Kuhn's then-girlfriend. Van Buren was charged under Vermont's revenge porn statute, which prohibits the non-consensual disclosure of intimate images with intent to harm. The Vermont Superior Court initially dismissed the case, ruling the statute unconstitutional under the First Amendment. However, the Vermont Supreme Court reversed this decision, upholding the statute under strict scrutiny, finding it narrowly tailored to serve a compelling interest in protecting privacy. Despite this, the court ultimately dismissed the case because the prosecution failed to prove that Dana had a reasonable expectation of privacy when she sent the images. State v. Van Buren underscores the complexity and duality of the legal challenges surrounding revenge porn legislation. This case exemplifies why crafting effective laws in this area is so difficult. The question of whether restrictions on revenge porn infringe upon the First Amendment rights of perpetrators is more intricate than it may initially seem. Many states, like Alabama, have enacted laws to curb the distribution of non-consensual intimate images. The Code of Alabama 13A 6240, for instance, makes it a crime to knowingly distribute of private images with the intent to harass, threaten, or coerce the person depicted, particularly when that person had a reasonable expectation of privacy and did not consent to the image's distribution.
However, two significant challenges persist. First is a concern that such laws might violate the First Amendment rights, reaffirming that they be narrowly tailored to serve a compelling state interest. Second, someone has a reasonable expectations of privacy remains ambiguous and needs a clearer legal parameters. These issues highlight the ongoing tensions between protecting individual privacy and upholding free speech rights, making the legal landscape surrounding revenge porn ever more complex. And deepfakes are closely related because deepfake can be used to create fake pornography. In this case, the explicit content isn't even real. It's manipulated using deepfake technology. A deepfake is a video where a person's face or body is digitally altered to make them appear as someone else. Deepfakes are obtained from a wide variety of sources: publicly available data, personal user data, synthetic data, and collaboration with data providers. And this new technology has both positive and negative applications. With technology advancing every day, it is getting more challenging to detect deepfakes. Deepfake pornography is becoming increasingly common, and it almost exclusively targets women.
We were actually fortunate enough to interview a very knowledgeable professor here at the University of Michigan, whose teaching focuses on AI developments and its applications to society. Hello, this is Professor Wickham joining us today and talking about deepfakes and their implications. Professor, can you break down the arguments in support and against deepfakes, as well as your take on the issue?
We say this technology is sort of inevitable, to sit around arguing about whether it's good or bad, that we're going to have the power to create fully convincing synthetic images that not even a computer can distinguish from a real image. To sit around and argue about whether that's good or bad is kind of beside the point, because we're already so close to that point. And some people argue it's an inevitability. So we might as well do it and harness it for good as much as possible and think about how to regulate it now. So that would be more of the techno-optimist approach. And I sympathize with the argument that it's hard to staunch the tide of progress or whatever, but I find that really terrifying. I haven't thought as much about the use of deepfakes as in revenge porn and stuff like that. It's obviously really horrible, but it has really scary political implications, because we're already living in this world where we're bombarded with information on social media and we don't know what's real. And so as AI becomes better and better at creating synthetic images, it's going to get to the point where, like, only experts, if anyone, will be able to say, that deepfake was Donald Trump, or that deepfake wasn't Donald. That was a deepfake of Donald Trump, or that was really Donald Trump. At least nowadays we have convincing ones, but an expert can look at it, or even just a regular person can like slow down the footage and really like think about it and realize, okay, this probably isn't real. So I think we're quickly heading to a point where we really won't be able to tell what's real and what's not. Technology that has the potential to do a lot more harm than good. And I kind of feel that way, like it has potential to do more harm than good. Whereas with other forms of AI, there's just enormous potential for good as well as enormous potential for like exploitation and chaos. With deepfakes, it's like, what's the best thing never going to get out of a deepfake? Like the movies will be cheaper, So, yeah, I'm very leery of it.
I completely agree. Now, thank you so much for joining us today, and we really appreciate your insight on this topic.
That was very informational. Thank you so much, Professor Wickham, for your time and your thoughts.
The increase of these deepfakes is staggering. In 2016, researchers identified one deepfake pornography video online. Then, in the first 3 quarters of 2023, 143,733 new deepfake porn videos were uploaded to the 40 most used deepfake pornography sites. This issue trended once deepfakes of celebrities emerged. Some celebrity victims were in the likes of Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Katy Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and much more. There have been more than 4,000 celebrity deepfake porn victims, found on just 5 deepfake sites that accumulated 100 million views in a span of just 5 months. In light of this, majority of states have made their attempt at establishing a law against deepfakes.
A national law has been in the making to address this issue. The Disrupt Explicit Forged Images and Non-Consensual Edits Act of 2024, also known as the Defiance Act, is being introduced. The Defiance Act is a federal bill designed to address non-consensual, sexually explicit deepfakes. Introduced by Senator Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham, the act allows victims to sue those who create, share, or possess deepfakes depicting them in sexually explicit scenarios without their consent.
The act defines deepfakes as digitally altered images that falsely show someone in sexual content. It provides a federal civil remedy with a 10-year statute of limitations and aims to fill legal gaps left by existing laws, which have struggled to address the rapid rise in such malicious content, particularly targeting women and public figures. The bill has passed the Senate unanimously and is now awaiting a vote in the House. The House version of the bill is still under consideration in committee.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope this discussion has given you a deeper understanding of the challenges we face and the importance of thoughtful discourse on these issues. Thanks for tuning into this video of revenge porn and deepfakes. Stay informed, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye!